What?
It was that, so I feel like.
I woke up, I felt like. My brain, like, maybe not that, I'm not really. I'm gonna wake up at 3.
Are you serious?
Okay, here we go, guys. So last class, I just want to briefly remind you, okay, that we put some formulas at the bottom. If you were not here last class, go ahead and copy these down for me. Okay, so if you are asked to do a cosine question, remember that you're gonna find that angle and then pick the x. What if it's a sine question? Go to that angle, pick the y. Okay, if it's secant or cosecant, you're gonna go to the x or the y and flip it. Where can you not leave square roots? Bottom. In the bottom. Okay, and then remember, we also talked about tan and cotan, but we're not gonna do those for a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna close the door and then we're gonna keep going. So look at number 1 on your notes. I want you to think about what you think the first step is to solve for x. No, you guys are wonderful. You're doing a great job. Okay. So what do we need to do first? I bet you're gonna guess right on number 1. I bet you're gonna guess right. So it is added. How do we undo addition? Okay, good. So we're gonna minus √3 on both sides. And so 0 minus √3 would just be negative √3. Good so far? So we have 2 cosine x negative √3. Okay, from here, we want to get that x alone. There's a 2 in the front. I bet you're gonna guess right. How do I get rid of a 2 in the front? Divide is correct. So now I have cosine x equals negative √3/2. Here's where your circle comes in. Cosine x is the x value on the circle, right? And I want it to equal this number. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna look on the circle and find all of the places that your x value is equal to this number. We're gonna write that first, then we're gonna do it. So I want you to put a little star and put,
Negative though, right?
say that again.
Like, it doesn't need to be negative. Like,
The answer won't be negative because it'll be an angle, but the number does have to be negative.
I'm talking about like when you gotta find it on the sheet.
Oh, okay, correct, you did. So find all angles. Okay, we're only gonna write this little sentence for the first few examples. So find all angles on the circle where the x value is equal to negative √3/2. Now, why am I saying the x value has to equal? Because it's a cosine question. So I'm gonna put my circle up here in a second. Once you have that written down, if I'm looking for an x value to equal a negative number, which half of the circle should I focus on? Here are your choices. For a negative x value, should I look at the right half, the left half, the top half, or the bottom half? Where would negative x values be found? Left, because remember, if I want my x to be negative, I'd have to go this way, right? So look on this half of your circle. When is your x value in the point a negative √3/2? Yeah, I see a negative √3/2 here. Is it the x value? Then I want it, so write down x equals 5π/6. And then I'm looking for one more spot that's the x value. Focus on the bottom half of the circle. You see it right here? 7 pi over 6. Now, if I keep looking at the other half of the circle, there are other root 3 over 2's that are negative, but are they the x coordinate? Then that means they're not a cosine, they're a sine, and that will not solve my equation. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's do number 2. Okay, we have 2 cosine x minus root 2 equals 0. What do we need to do first? I bet you're gonna guess right. Plus root 2, very good. Add root 2 onto both sides. So I have 2 cosine x equals square root 2. Take a stab at the second guess. What do we think? What's the next step? Divide the root 2, or the regular 2, sorry. So I have cosine x equals root 2 over 2. Once I get cosine x by itself, I'm looking at my circle for all angles where my cosine or x value is equal to this number. I'm going to write that as a sentence just for the first few examples, then we'll stop doing that. So find all angles on the circle where the x value is equal to root 2 over 2. Now, if I want my x value to equal a positive number, should I focus on the left half of the circle or the right half of the circle? The right half. So I'm going to look on my circle here. And I'm looking for all of the places that root 2 over 2 positive is the x value. What 2 angles does that happen at? Okay, pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4. Very good. Okay. Very good. So pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4. Let's do number, let's skip 3. Let's go on to the next one right here, number 5. Okay, what do you think I should do first? Okay, minus the 5 is correct. So I have 5 sine x equals 0 minus 5 is negative 5. Next step, what do you think I should do? Divide the 5 out of the way. And negative 5 divided by 5 is what? What number? Negative 1. Okay, then from there, I'm going to look at my circle and I'm going to find all angles. Okay, where, obviously we know at this point we're looking on the circle, so I'm going to leave that out. Find all angles where, and because this is a sine question, am I going to focus on the x value of the circle or the y value? Sine is the y value, and I want it to equal the number negative 1. Now, same question I was asking you before. I can focus usually on just half the circle at a time. If I want a negative y value, do I want the right side, the left side, the top half, or the bottom half? For a y value to be negative, I would have to look down. So below the bottom half. Very good. So notice that all my y values down here are negative. What number am I looking for?
Negative 1.
Negative 1 is right here. What angle is that?
3 pi over 2.
3 pi over 2. Very good. Okay, all your solutions today are going to be in radians, not degrees. So 3 pi over 2. Now notice for the other examples, we were getting 2 answers. Okay, but for negative 1, that only occurs once. Okay, let's look at number 4. What do you think I should do first here?
Minus 1.
Okay, correct, minus 1. 1 minus 1 means that sine x equals what number? 0. Okay, then I'm going to put my little star. Find all angles where? Okay, very good. How do I know that I want the y value to be 0? Because what type of trig is it? Okay, sine, versus if it was cosine, I would want the x value to be 0. Okay, look on your circle. For a y value to be 0, I don't want to go up or down off the x-axis, then I want to stay right on the x-axis. So let me put my circle up here. I'm looking for a 0 as a y value. You should see two places where that happens. At 1, 0 and at negative 1, 0. Now, this is going to give us 3 total answers. Here's why. This is 0 degrees, 180 degrees, and also what? 360. Same thing for radians. This is 0 radians, 1 pi radians, and then 2 pi radians. Okay, so let's write those answers down. 0.
His nose ring fell
I found somebody's magnetic nose ran into it, wasn't so touching.
Oh, I know whose it is. Where is it?
Somebody grabbed it.
Okay.
And water.
Oh, wow. All right, so it should be 0 pi and 2 pi. Now, before we go on, we have to eliminate one of these answers for your homework. This is what the instructions say. Read it at the top. Solve the trigonometric equation for all values where it's between 0 and 2 pi, but which of these is not included? 0 has an equal to. 2 pi, you're not gonna list as an answer for your homework. Okay, but it is an answer, but because we had to put the cutoff somewhere, that's where Delta Math puts it. So you're gonna include 0, but you're not gonna include 2 pi. So I'm gonna go back and just cross it out, even though it is a real answer for your Delta Math. If you put 2 pi, we got it wrong. Okay, one more on this page. Take a look at number 6. What do you think the first step is? +1 is correct. So we're gonna add that 1 across to the other side. Sine squared x equals 0 + 1 is 1. Next step, my sine has a squared on it. How do I reverse or undo squared? A root, very good. So put a root here and a root here. Squared and square root cross out. So my sine x is just regular. What is the square root of 1? Still 1, but I want you to think back to a long time ago. What do you put when you square root both sides? Something in the front here, huh?
Plus minus.
Plus minus, sorry. Okay, so if you want to put a note, square root both sides means plus or minus on the square root. Okay, and I know we haven't done that in a while. Okay, but anytime you take the square root on both sides, you need to apply a plus minus. So even though the square root of 1 is 1, it's really plus or minus
So
1.
that means we're looking at like the whole circle.
It does, very good. So I want sine to equal plus or minus 1. That means I'm gonna find all values or all angles where the y value is equal to 1 or -1. And why is it a y value question? Because my trig type is sine. So look on your circle. Where is my y value +1? What angle? Pi over 2. And when is it -1? 3 pi over 2. Okay. Now, it does say for this question to do it in degrees, but since that doesn't happen on your practice, I'm just gonna do all of them in radians today. Okay, but you could list these answers in degrees and it would be fine. Okay, all right, go ahead and turn the page. Okay, go ahead and get started on number 7. What do you think you should do first?
Plus 3.
Okay, add the 3 across this, correct? So plus 3 plus 3. So I have 4 sine squared x equals 0 plus 3 is 3. Guesses on the next step?
Or- Oh, divide.
Divide first and then we'll square root. That's okay. So divide by 4 first. So I have sine squared x equals 3 over 4. And now that the sine squared is alone, I'm gonna take the square root. When you square root the other side, don't square root it as one big fraction. Square root each part of it separately. Here's why. Can I square root 3? Not evenly, right? But can I square root 4 evenly? Yeah, so that's why I'm gonna do them separately. If both of them square root, do it all together. If neither of them square root, you can do it all together. But if it's like one each, where one is perfect and the other's not, just square root them separately. So here's what I have. This is now a regular sine x equal to square root of 3 will go or no? No, so keep it. But the square root of 4 will. What's the square root of 4? This one's perfect. The square root of 4 is 2. What am I missing? Plus or minus. Very good. Remember that if you take the square root on both sides, you need to put a plus or minus on the other side. Which means that I'm looking for all the angles on the circle where, what comes next? The y value is equal to what? Negative or positive root 3 over 2. So how much of the circle am I looking at? All of it. So I want you to write down, there should be 4 places. We'll check them in a second. Okay, I'm gonna write that little sentence here, but you don't have to if you feel like you got it. So find all angles where the y value, bless you, is plus root 3 over 2 or minus root 3 over 2. Okay, can somebody tell me the first answer starting in quadrant 1? What do I want? Pi thirds. What's the next one? 2 pi over 3. Next one? 4 pi over 3. And last one?
5 pi over 3.
5 pi over 3. Okay, the most answers that you can get is 4. The least answers you could get would be 1. Okay, start off number 8. What do you think you should do? Okay, plus 1. Am I going too fast or are we good? Okay. So 2 cosine squared x equals 0 plus 1 is 1. Next step. Divide the 2. So I have cosine squared x equals 1/2. Next step. Square root the fraction all together or separately? Separately, because which one is perfect?
2, no 1.
Root 1, very good. So my square to my square root cross out, I have cosine x equals. The square root of 1 is perfect, it just comes out to a 1. But square root 2, I have to leave in this one. What am I missing? Plus or minus. Now, if you look on your circle for this answer as an x value, you're never going to find it because what rule is it breaking? No square roots at the bottom. Remember, your circle follows that rule. So I need to make this follow that rule. How do I get rid of the root 2 on the bottom? Put another root 2 on bottom, which means another root 2 where? On top. Which means that really this is plus or minus what?
Square root 2 over 4.
Square root 2 over 2, because it's the square root of 4, which is 2.
Oh,
Remember? So it'd be root 2 over 2. So whenever you repeat that root, you just keep that same number from the middle. What value are we looking at? An x or a y value? How do we know it's an x value? That's correct. Because it's a cosine, so find all angles where the x value is positive root 3 over 2 or negative root 3 over 2. So look on your circle for that. Somebody tell me when you have it, the first answer, what is it? Oh, I wrote it down wrong. Thank you. It is 2 root 2 over 2. My bad. Thank you for fixing that. These are root 2's over 2. Sorry about that. Okay, so what's my first spot starting quadrant 1? Pi fourths. What's the next one? 3 pi fourths. Next one? 5 pi fourths and. Okay, now I want you to look at the answers for all the questions we've done. Do you notice that the denominator is always the same type? So your answer should never be like a pi thirds and a pi sixths, or a pi fourths and a pi thirds. They should always be the same type. Okay, we're gonna finish the reciprocal IDs and then we'll take a break and let you do some delta math. So remember, the reciprocal IDs are partnered with the original two. Cosecant goes with what? Cosecant is sine flipped, and then secant is cosine flipped. You remember that? Okay, so let's go back to the example 9. What do you think I should do first? Follow the same rules we've been doing. Plus the 2 across. 0 plus 2 on the other side means that cosecant x equals positive 2. At this point, you don't have any cosecants on your circle. So we're gonna flip both sides so that this will go back to one of the originals. So I want you to write flip both sides. And then we're gonna do it. Cosecant is what flipped? It's gonna go back to sine x because they're partners, right? Sine is cosecant flipped, and then same thing vice versa. If I want to flip 2, I need to turn that into a fraction. What can I put it over? That wouldn't change it numerically. 2 over 1. So if I flip that now, what is it? 1 over 2. And then from there, you're ready to look at your circle.
Wait, so when you flip, like, you flip like the whole.
So this side, you're flipping back into one of the originals, sine or cosine.
Oh.
And this side, you're flipping the fraction. And if it's not a fraction, put it over 1 so that you can flip it.
Okay.
So at this point, this is one of the original questions y'all already knew how to do. If it's sine, am I looking at x's or y's?
It's y.
Sine is y values, and what do I want them to equal? 1/2, then am I looking at top, bottom, or the whole circle? Y values positive would be top. So find the 2 places on your circle where the y value is 1/2. So find all angles where the y value equals 1/2. And then I'd love to hear those once you have them.
Pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6.
Correct. Pi 6. 5 pi 6. Easy enough? Okay, let's go to number 10. What do you think I should do first?
-2.
Minus the 2 across. So I have root 2 cosecant x equals 0 minus 2 is -2. From there,
Square it.
let's treat this as a coefficient. How do I get rid of the number from the front?
Divide.
Divide it. So I have CSCS equals,
-2.
very good. Now, normally, this would be a rule break. Why is it not gonna end up breaking a rule? Because if I flip both sides, this square root on the bottom is not gonna be a problem when it flips to the top. Does that make sense? So CSC, I'm gonna flip both sides. CSC is gonna flip back to which of the original functions? Sine X. And my fraction is gonna flip to negative root 2 over. Now, one more thing I wanna remind you of last time, when you flip a fraction, don't worry about trying to put the negative into the bottom, it doesn't matter, just keep it in the front. So where on your circle is sine X gonna be negative root 2 over 2? Top, bottom, left, or right? Bottom half of the circle. I want negative root 2 over 2 is the Y value. I see that happens here and here. So my angles are 5 pi fourths and 7 pi fourths. How we doing? Good? Okay, try the next one. Yes? Yes.
I don't get to even.
Correct, but your formulas are at the top of the test.
I didn't say one.
Also. Okay, can you tell me what your first step was for number 11? Okay, addition, we're gonna add the 2 across. So 0 plus 2 is 2. From there, what do you think next? Divide the root 3. So I have secant x equals 2 over root 3. And then secant is not on your circle, but if I flip both sides, what will secant turn back into? Cosine. And what will my fraction flip back to? Instead of 2 over root 3, now it's root 3 over 2. Okay, also keep in mind that when we say flip, we're talking about the fraction, not the sign. So positive stays a positive when you invert it. Okay, then what are my answers for this? I want x values to be root 3 over 2. Okay, 11 pi over 6 has a root 3 over 2 and also regular pi over 6. And once you use the circle enough, it's gonna be easier to find them. But I would think about those halves, that if I want a positive x value, then I know that I only need to look at the right side. Okay, last one, number 12, go ahead and solve it for me. We're gonna subtract that 4 across. Which means that secant x equals what? 5 minus 4 is 1. Now, anticipating that I'm gonna have to flip both sides, let's make that a fraction. What can I put this over that won't change the value? Another 1. So now if I flip both sides. Flip both sides. What does secant go back to? Sorry, the secant side, cosine. And then what happens when you flip 1 over 1? Still 1. So remember, 1 flips to positive 1 again. What does negative 1 flip to? Negative 1 again. So the 1s are gonna stay the same, that when you flip it with itself, it's gonna do nothing. Okay, where is cosine x1 on your circle? There are 2 places.
0 and 2.
0 and 2 pi, but for your homework, which one will you not include as an answer? 2 pi, even though it does solve it, you're not gonna put it in for delta math. Just because Dale didn't want you to have that many answers. All right, so pull out your Chromebooks. I have plenty of scratch paper. You can do all of the homework except the last problem set has canned Coke in. we do need to finish the notes, but we'll do some homework first. So if you want scratch work, I'll come, or scratch paper, I'll come bring you some. You pick over here. The on the last homework. You need me to reset it. Y'all need paper over here? You probably won't have time, but that's fine. I'll probably put you in the hall to that class. You need paper over here? Okay.
Okay, the one that has it on the.
You paper? Anything for you? Michelle, you okay? Tired? Okay.
Is your car already up? It's still like on the track.
So we pay 1 to 2 degrees Celsius.
Huh?
Your school memory.
What happened to it?
So you know, we don't.
Every
time it rains.
Which
What?
yeah, and then you go to that spot. And then
It's like two big ass holes.
It is like.
And it's
Um,
soft. So every time it rains.
So we're about to get to that part much fun here.
That's crazy.
So let me come back and do a couple. They're really not hard, but they're just a little bit different because you're dividing.
There's no like one better rain.
So give me
Yes,
one
right.
second. You have anything up with?
Also,
Does he?
You needed a reason on last time's homework?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could be one, then I'd be like.
What do you do?
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Oh, yes, sure.
Where do I go? Where? Cause I made it
Okay, hold on, you
from angle B
did,
and side B, but I don't know.
if you have 2 angles, how many angles do you really
Oh,
have?
no, I got it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Melanie, you're reset. Let me know when you finish so I can take the late penalty off. Yes? Cause you just did it after the deadline. Okay, it's fixed. What else? Can you do it on your phone?
What are you talking
You work? Yeah.
I need to go to Boylan.
I have to.
I got business to do. Bro, Sydney, I don't know the age. That's what she like.
And then you're good on this page too.
I thought she had on something.
So.
Bro, Aiden like doesn't like me. I swear, like from what I've heard. Aiden don't fuck her.
Snaps them up like. All like my friends all like.
If you want, I can give you one.
We need to stop it. Yeah,
So you get that.
bro, dude, she can't do that.
Divided by cosine. Remember, it's not your y value divided by your x value. So let's say we want to do tangent 1. Three over 2. Divide by negative 1.
Anyone know?
Yeah, you're dividing by
No, camera's on.
So 3 over 2.
Stand your ground, bro.
You're gonna change
I'm not going.
and then you're gonna flip the bottom.
It's clean, 18, the receiver. And the safety, it's clean, the safety.
Root 3 is on top. One is on bottom, which is the same. Good. Okay, let's do like.
I do, did you finish?
Let's do tan.
I did.
So 30 degrees. That is the thing, since I wasn't here. We're not working. Keep positive to what you need. So we're doing y over x, remember, that's the.
I was actually playing with the magnets, I was like,
Yes.
I was gonna put it on my ear. Because I was
Yes.
Not even thinking.
Very good. We're gonna keep change flip, so what will we have then?
But we get some work straight on the test, gotta wear it.
Me?
Yes, what's gonna cost out?
Yeah,
So your final answer is? Oh, that's so easy. It'd be.
Yeah, bro, like, we used to do it anymore.
So then what would you get? If you don't have correct one, but it's not wrong, you can put it else. Okay, so tan. What's your name?
No, it's. No, this is okay. Are you saying that once?
Oh, okay, now, you'll notice.
Bro, that he was smart there. Here, let me just go for you. Hey, this is my treat. Don't even worry about it, don't even worry about it.
So if I want 35 halves, but I want protein, I'm gonna do X over Y would be what?
Yes, it is.
You divide 0 by what?
Well, that's it.
So a 0 on the top is okay, 0 on the bottom is fine. Okay, then let's do 1 and the 5.
No, I got the hard ones. No. I'll do, I'll press it and use
So
it.
perfect. I always say.
Okay, we're doing cotan, is it Y over X?
Okay.
Wait. 0 minus negative 1 to 1.
No.
2 divided
Oh,
by.
that was so funny. I remember. Yeah, I know. He's been like this, guys. Great.
So with these runs out, think about your divide. This is divided by, right? Good, and then you have that negative. So Does that make sense?
How come we have whooping?
Yeah.
Yeah, back and forth.
So then I feel like that's enough that you can do all of that.
And then oh, yeah.
And if you want to do like a little bit of both, and remember I have to take a plate and.
I asked somebody that, she's
Oh,
like,
that's
yeah.
wrong.
Do you want my?
How was that wrong?
Yeah, they do so fast.
It's an egg, we're doing the eggs. It's not negative.
She's like,
You what?
You
went? Oh, okay.
That's wild.
Also, he's gonna beat up over,
Like. I was like, oh. I was confused. That's crazy.
Also,
Yeah.
you're gonna think this. I don't know, this is, you sabotage. You just.
You added the 1, you divided by 4, you took the square and got a half, but did you remember the plus minus?
Yeah.
So it's just there, you're finding all 4 answers, correct?
Like, yeah.
Wait, do we need to like put them in order or not?
They do not need to be in order. As long as you get all 4, you're fine.
Yeah, we had to get one. She does.
What do we got? 2, 5. It is so crazy fast.
Yes.
Just do it.
Wait, who? Yeah, what was
No,
Let me check what your email is on my end.
I think you did.
Oh, the one that she's. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, your email for me is me427-977@g.rsc.org. And it's saying it doesn't exist?
That's
Oh, yeah.
true that you start roasting everybody. They start roasting everybody.
Okay, well then we'll finish the notes and then after lunch you can. We'll see what's going on. Yes. Okay, you're close. You add the one, you find the two, you get half. Then you have to square it. So square root of 1 is 1, but what's the square root of 2? You have to keep it. No. So hold on, so when you square root here, you're the top and the bottom separate. What's the square root of 1? So plus or minus 1 on top. What about square root of 2? You have to leave it, which means this is a big. Remember how you can't have a square root on the bottom? Like none of your answers are gonna say this.
Yeah.
It'll be root 2 over 2, correct? And then 1 plus minus. Now, Hudson, don't hit him in the face. Your own little friend. Okay, finish up the one you're working on and then we're gonna finish the notes. No, lyric.
No, lyric.
Don't talk about yourself that way. I will not allow it.
Why? Wait, I had to choose those first. That's so bad. Wait, 2 by over. Wait, is it? I'm so, what is it? Wait, is it 2 by over 2?
But if it's an emergency. Okay, finish the one you're working on and then we're gonna finish the notes. So that my Zoom video is not 2 hours. You got it?
Oh, I know, I'm definitely wrong. Yeah, hold up. Wait, is it 2 over 2, right? 2 squared over 2?
Root 2 over 2. And then it was plus or minus, so it's the same.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
I saw you at the game. They won big time.
I saw the video.
Okay, we have 15 minutes to lunch and then when you come back, we're all done with notes.
It was like what?
15.
No, what? Alright, I'll do, hey, same thing.
It's not time.
Okay, are we ready?
It's so far.
Okay. So turn to your last page of notes. We're just gonna run through the tan cotangent examples. How did we find tangent last class? What was the formula? Sine over cosine or y over x. Okay, so I'm gonna mainly stick with y over x. Okay, but we're gonna find the values for tangent and we're gonna label them around your circle so that you don't have to find them over and over again. So we're gonna start with 0 degrees. At 0 degrees, tan is y over x. Can you find 0 degrees, please? And tell me what is the y value? Okay, it is 0. And what is the x value? 1. And what is 0 divided by 1?
0.
It is 0. So now we're gonna go to the unit circle and we're gonna label that. So 0 divided by 1 came out to be 0. So right here on your circle, put tan equals 0. Now, if 0 divided by 1 came out to be 0, look across the circle. Wouldn't 0 divided by -1 also come out to 0?
Yes.
So we're gonna label it in both spots. That your tan should equal 0 at both this side of the circle and this side of the circle. Is everybody good? Back to your notes. We're gonna do 90 degrees next. 90 degrees, tan is y over x. What is the y value at 90 degrees? 1. And what is the x value? 0. And what is 1 divided by 0? We learned this last class, so it's the u. Undefined. So at 90 degrees, the answer for tangent is undefined. We're gonna go to our circle. We're gonna record that at 90 degrees. Okay, so come up here to the top. 90 degrees, my tangent equals undefined. Now, quick question. If 1 divided by 0 is undefined, wouldn't -1 divided by 0 also be undefined? So at the bottom of the circle, put tan equals undefined. So you should now have tangent written in the sides of the circle and top and bottom of the circle. Everybody good? Okay. Back to your notes, we're gonna do 45 degrees. Okay? 45 degrees. So remember, tan is still y over x. Look at 45 degrees is right here. You can barely see it in the top of my paper. What's my y value? √2/2 divided by, what's my x value? √2/2. And if it's a fraction divided by a fraction, remember you keep change flip. So I'll have √2/2, keep, change it to a multiply, and then flip the second fraction. So instead of √2/2, now it's 2/√2. If I have a √2 on top and on bottom, what can happen? Cancel. And then all I'm left with is 2 divided by 2, which is equal to what? 1. And remember, technically those 2's also cancel. The question is, if everything cancels, what do you put? You put 1. So on your circle at 45 degrees, I want you to put that tan equals 1. Now, quick question. If √2/2 divided by √2/2 is 1, what is gonna change if I change it to √2/2 divided by -√2/2? Almost the exact same point, but now one of them is negative. What are they gonna divide to? Negative. So at 135 degrees, I want you to put that tan comes out to -1. Now let's go down to quadrant 3. Notice that in quadrant 3 at 225 degrees, both of them are negative. What happens when you divide two negatives with each other? How is the one gonna come out? Positive 1. So tan will equal +1. And then we have one more fourths over here at 7 pi fourths. This time my x is positive, my y is negative. We know they're gonna divide to 1, but what kind of one?
Negative.
A negative 1. So all of your middle angles should now be labeled. Okay, we have 2 more angles left. Let's start with 30 degrees. 30 degrees. Remember the formula for tan is y over x. Y over x. So for 30 degrees, what is the y value?
Wow.
1/2 divided by what? What's the x value? √3/2, thank you. And if it's a fraction divided by a fraction, we're gonna keep, change, flip. So 1/2 I'm gonna keep, change it to a multiply, and then flip √3/2 is now 2/√3. What's gonna cross out? The 2's, which means I'm gonna have 1/√3 as my final answer, question mark?
No.
No, because
Error.
no roots on the bottom, so I'm gonna repeat it. What is my final tan answer gonna be? √3/3. And then we're gonna take that value, we're gonna copy it over to our circle at 30 degrees. So my tan came out to √3/3. Now, if I divided 1/2 and √3/2, and it came out to √3/3, what's gonna happen across the circle if I barely change the ordered pair to where now the x is negative? When I divide them, I'm still gonna get the same number, but what's the sign gonna be? Are you picking up on the pattern here? Okay, this tan is gonna be negative √3/3. And when I drop down to this point, the x and the y are both negative. How is their √3/3 gonna come out? At 7 pi 6. If they're both negative, what are they gonna divide to? Positive √3/3. And then we have one more quadrant to do. How's it gonna come out over here if the y is negative, but the x is positive? It'll be negative, very good. Okay. One more left, we need to do 60 degrees, that's the last one. Remember your tan formula is y over x. So at 60 degrees, what will that fraction look like? At 60 degrees, what will that fraction look like? Very good. And if it's a fraction divided by a fraction, we're gonna keep change flip. So my √3/2 is gonna stay the same. I'm gonna change it to a multiply and flip 1/2. What will 1/2 flip to? 2/1. What's gonna cross out? Which means my final answer is gonna be √3/1, question mark? Okay, I can leave it because where's the square root? No one cares if there's a square root on the top, right? It's just the bottom. So next to 60 degrees, I want you to put that your tan came out to √3. What would happen at 120 degrees if the only difference between the ordered pairs is that the x here is negative and the y is positive? It's gonna be a negative √3. And now can I show you a pattern here? How did all of the tans come out in this corner? Negative. And how did they all come out in this corner? They're gonna all be negative. So this tan will be a negative √3. Versus in your double negative quadrant down here, how did all the tans come out? Positive. So now that you have all of your tans written into your circle, solving these are gonna be really easy. We probably only have time for maybe one or two, but we'll do what we can. So for the first one, I want tan x plus 10 to equal 10. What should I do first? Minus the 10 from both sides. What is 10 minus 10? So I want tan x to equal 0. And then all you have to do is look on the circle where we labeled that the tan came out to 0. Okay, pi and there was one other spot.
0 and 2 pi.
Yeah, so it'd be 0 pi and 2 pi. But then which one would you not put for your homework?
2 pi.
No 2 pi, even though really it is an answer, the homework doesn't want. Okay, number 2 next to it, what should we do first?
Plus 3.
Plus the 3. So 0 plus 3 is 3. Next step, what should I do? Divide the 3. That means that tan squared equals what? Hold on, 3 over 3 is what number?
1.
1. Okay, we're not done yet. What do we do next?
Square.
And when you square root 1, what is the answer gonna be? Plus or minus 1. And remember, if it's plus or minus, you should be finding usually 4 spots on the circle. Okay? So where is my tan plus or minus 1? What type of fraction? Pi over 3, pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 2, which ones? All the pi over 2s. Oh wait, no. Is that right? I thought tan came out to 1 here. At 5/4, yeah?
Yeah.
And then over here at 3 pi/4, it came out to a -1. And then we have 2 at the bottom as well. So it'd be pi/4, 3 pi/4, 5 pi/4, and 7 pi/4. Okay. We have 2 minutes. Can we do one of the cotans just really quick? Okay, turn over to the back. Am I going too fast? Are you confused? Or is it fine?
I think she'd be able to throw it out.
No, you're lying.
What is that, 12:05?
Good one. Sorry. Sorry. Schedule. If you're late, I won't say anything, I promise. I'm done. Bad picture.
Well, we just figured it out. I thought I said last time, Mia, even though the bell rung.
Okay, last one. Let's do number 6.
Yeah.
Number 6 is a cotan. What should we do first? You know what to do. Last question. What should we do, people?
-5.
Thank you. -5. 5 minus 5 means that 18 cotan x equals 0. How do I get rid of the 18 from the front?
Divide.
Divide by 18. And now remember that 0 is special. You can divide 0 by anything, but what are you gonna still get?
Zilch.
Another 0, so sure. Okay, remember though, it's okay to get 0 on the top, you just keep it a 0. Okay, here's where you have a problem. Cotan's not on your circle. Tangent is, right? And how do I turn cotan back into tangent?
Flip.
Flip both sides. So when I flip both sides, my cotan is gonna go back to a tan x. Because remember, if cotan is x over y, tangent was y over x. So they're buddies, they're just flipped. Okay, and then 0, can I flip a 0? What did we flip 0 back to? Do you remember?
0.
U? Undefined.
Uh,
Okay, remember that you can't flip 0, because what you would do is put 0 over 1, and then when you flip it, it turns into 1 over 0. So now look on your circle, where is tan x undefined? There are 2 places. The top and the bottom, very good. So tan x is undefined at pi halves and 3 pi halves. Does that make sense? So you have your tan all around the outside of your circle, and if you get a cotan, you'll just have to flip back to tan. Okay, the only place in your homework that you should encounter a tan or a cotan is the very last problem set. So just keep working, you're doing great. If you need a reset, let me know, and you still have quite a long time to finish. If you need more scratch paper, let me know. Neil, what's your question? Just like that. Yes. Yes, we take one of the back. Please.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Nope.
Is there something else I can help with?
Uh,